Man, it's been a long time coming. It has been a very long time coming. Man, I've got to admit to you guys, I never thought I was going to be able to get to a show for NCAA because it's legit been that busy. Man, I hope you guys have enjoyed playing this game so far. I've definitely enjoyed the environment. I can tell you, our admin team, we are loving what the activity looks like. Our board of directors, we are loving how everyone is working together with the decisions we are making for not just for one group of users, but we've got two leagues combined into one. Man, this is fun, man. I am out here. I'm out here getting my ass whooped. in one situation, and then the other one, I'm doing just fine. So this show, the whole goal is to break this down and give you guys a little bit of a breakdown from both leagues. So we're gonna roll between both. We're gonna look at schedules. We're gonna talk about schedules. Talk about some of the things within the chat. We're going to look at conference standings. We're going to look at the Heisman race. Talk about the top 25. We're going to talk about stats, and we're going to wrap this thing up. The goal has been to give you guys a show each advance, or not each advance, but at least once a week. Something to be posted, something to be communicated. And the first thing that I'm really gonna step on is that scheduling piece. So I know a lot of guys when we first started this, there was a lot of question around. Really about the schedules, and myself and Qua put in a lot of time trying to get the scheduling piece set up, getting all these things kind of set up, and as far as league play. And let me tell you guys, it is not a simple system. So for everyone that was rushing, everyone that was kind of pushing a little bit, trying to get us to the next stage, obviously to get to these first weeks of gameplay, understand that the scheduling piece is not easy on NCAA. So I definitely want to shout out to Qua for his effort with that. I want to shout out our admin team as well, as far as how we decided to put the conferences together between both leagues. And again, because we're going to rotate between both. And this is my first time really doing this. So I'm not even going to lie. There was a little bit of nerves at first, thinking like, man, how am I going to flip in between both leagues and get this done? So the very first thing, and when it came to scheduling, to understand the biggest struggle was not just making sure everyone didn't have CPU games, but also the home and away system. The way EA has it set up is they don't just have, obviously, they don't just take all the users and put them together. They do CPU as well. So you got to give CPU a game when you pull them out of the situation with your team, and also be able to give that way you can place the user in, but it also impacts the home and away system. So for example, in LOC, because it took me a little bit of time trying to figure this out, and yes, again, I have been getting plastered. I actually took on the worst schedule as far as gameplay because I didn't want to start that shit over. I just simply did not want to start over with the scheduling system. And so I only have 5 home games where everyone else has, I believe, 6. Fuzz has the most with 7. Obviously, he has the lower ranking team over in LOC at this point. So it was only right. And
Well, I ended up doing this. I actually gave myself a pretty shitty schedule, and I don't know how much I appreciate doing that to myself.
so just know and understand that going into next season, we kind of have, now that we both have an understanding between myself and Qua, and obviously, man, Legend has been doing a lot. Gideon's been doing a lot. Swag's been doing a lot. Austin being his natural wise self in communication. We are ready to go. For as far as that scheduling piece for both leagues next season, this has simply been a learning curve. Um, And that's why one of the reasons why we took so long to start, which I don't know. I'm not really sure why that's a big issue for most people because we've never really, even between Legends and Texas Heat, we've never really just started in the beginning of league play. We have always attempted to try and wait until a patch drops so they have the updated rosters and go from there. And it helped us see a few of the things that other leagues were messing up on to give us the opportunity to do the best that we can to set this up in the best possible fashion we can. The next thing, scrapbooks. So I do see a lot of people that are, or let me say, I see very few people using the league scrapbooks that we have and posting the daily news. Man, please, please, please do not get away from doing that. I don't even care if you're getting smacked on NCAA. Man, those scrapbooks, it benefits us from getting a user perspective in regards to how you guys feel about the game and what you're thinking, how you feel about the game you just had. And it's also just an interaction piece as far as activity is concerned. So please, 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 when you get to that breaking news piece, do not hesitate to post in the scrapbook what's happening with your team and how you feel about your team going forward. Alrighty, so straight up, the very first thing we're going to look at here is we're going to go over to the conference standings, and we're going to start in LOC first, and we're going to rotate to KOC. So starting in over in the LOC league, in ACC, we have an undefeated Miami. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say this now. I do not know every user in here. There are a lot of new people. It's very hard to tell who has a team on NCAA, so we're going to just go by the team name for the most part, unless I just know exactly who you are. We have a 5-0 Miami, 3-0 on the road. That is massive to begin with, to be undefeated on the road. You have a 4-1 in Florida State, and then UCF. I believe that was a team that Young had originally switched over, made a trade with the Auburn user, and now he is at Auburn. But we have a UCF user at 3-3. Clemson 2-4 record up to this point. Not really sure who has the game clocks, and I believe Maryland is a new user in the league at 2-4. Jumping over to the Big 12. Big 12 looks exactly kind of how I expected when we first started over in LOC. With we have a Missouri 1-5 with Frizzle, not starting off well, but obviously he's not the worst so far. I'm sitting at the bottom with a few people up to this point. Our Texas user did lose, if I'm not mistaken, week 1 to Smitty with those Wolverines, sitting at 2-3 with the Texas team that I believe on the game started at number 1. Let's see how things switch up. He's definitely going to have to turn some of this around. Obviously, I think this is Legend. Yeah, Legend with A&M sitting at 2-3, 1-2 at home. He has not won a game away. I thought that was a win that he had away against Arkansas. Maybe the game hasn't updated just yet. A 3-3, I believe that's Texas Star with Oklahoma, and then Arkansas. Everyone knows who Arkansas is. He is the criminal himself with those Razorbacks.
The rule breaker is how I see
Are seeing Mr. Razorback in the past, and then of course an 0-4 in Nebraska. One of the very first few things that I have noticed with the game is that if you have not, just by going through records, the first thing I notice is the team situations. There are very few team situations that are doing well, and if they are doing well, you have to look at those conference games, or not really conference games, home and away. For example, UCF, 1 game away, he's 2-1 at home. Most people, their wins are showing for outside of really Miami are showing from a home position. Big Ten, obviously, you got myself down there at 0-4, over here getting smacked by a few people within the league. But of course, we're going to work our way up because Ohio State is sitting pretty at 4-0. Having a great start. No reason for Ohio State to lose that number 1 ranking. He said, "Oh, I just didn't gloss over his growth." No, Texas Star. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Uh, Sitting with Ohio State at that number one spot. No reason for that to change as long as he continues to win. And then, of course, we have Gideon 5-1 with Notre Dame, and then we have Smitty 4-1 with Michigan, and then Hendricks 3-2 holding on strong. Definitely a pretty tight race in the Big Ten. My expectation is that the race is going to end between Gideon and Smitty, but we'll see how things pan out on the long term. Pac 12, definitely a tight race in the Pac 12 for that second spot. We have an undefeated Oregon user in Fireman, and I'm not really surprised. Fireman has always kind of been a pretty good user for the most part, even in Madden. We have Fuzz sitting at 3-2. As I stated earlier, as far as the benefit, as far as home games, as you can tell, Fuzz has had 4 total home games up to this point. I definitely shout out to Fuzz with that team. Not really sure who USC is, but he's 3-1 up to this point. And then Twits, I think Twits or Twizzle, one of the two, with Utah at 3-2, and then a 1-5 UCLA for Honcho, a 1-3 for Austin, and of course Qua sitting at the bottom 2-4. I don't think he has any conference wins, and that's the ultimate impact up to this point. The last and least, definitely not least, is the SEC, and this thing is just all over the place. Because when you look at the conference wins, really the best as far as conference wins is Young at 2-2, and then of course Liv, I believe, is with Tennessee at 2-1, and then of course you have Vic 4-1, conference record 2-1, and LSU, I believe, is either Craw or Traw. I don't remember the actual names. Again, guys, it's gonna take me some time with this. We have 64, probably I'd say more around 58 total users playing in the same server. There's a lot of names to go through. But looking at each conference, just going to give a quick perspective on who I think takes the conference with each conference, and we're going to flip straight over to KOC. Straight off the bat, I'm actually going to go with Roach taking the SEC. Yep, I said it. I think Roach is going to take the SEC with Florida, followed by Vic, and then I do think that Young is going to be a close third, as LSU did take a nasty fall. Pac-12, I don't think anything's going to change here. There's no reason for Fireman not to win out in the Pac-12. He's playing well. He's undefeated up to this point. Looking over at the Big Ten, I just believe it's crazy because I lost to Ohio State, lost to Notre Dame, lost to Michigan. Um, I don't know. I still believe it's going to be between either Gideon or Smitty. Ohio State is a good user, but I do believe it's going to be between these two. Looking at the Big 12, honestly, this is really a guessing game. I no, really not a shot of disrespect by any means, but I did think this was one of the weaker conferences within LOC for the most part, and I don't know. I'm actually going to go with Oklahoma. I'm going to say Oklahoma is going to take it. We'll see how Legend finishes out, but there's not really a reason for Oklahoma to not finish out strong here. And as far as the ACC, obviously this one's going to be between Miami and Florida State. We are going to lean with Miami to finish out. Switching over leagues. Now, you know, again, brought up that scrapbook piece earlier. Let's not forget, man, if you win a game, lose a game, obviously we're trying to do a little newspaper ad that we post in the chat when we don't have time to do these shows, have time to make those connections, or these hour-long shows during the day. Oh wow! They showing some information I don't want y'all to see. Cuz hold on, hold on, y'all. They showing too much. Hold on, they showing too much. But we're going to look over in LOC and KOC and go straight over to the rankings standings here. So we're going to jump right into conference standings. Looking at the ACC, we have an undefeated Arkansas with Smitty. We have Colton with the Clemson Tigers at 4-1, and then Nike 4-1. playing well up to this point. I think Jeremy got one big win in the very beginning of the season. He played against actually I think it was Legend, and things didn't really kind of pan in his favor for the rest of the season after that. But he's 2-3. We'll see how things play out. DTZ doing DTZ things, not really shocked here. And then, of course, Louisville's a new user. All I know is his name. I think it's PS5 guy. Uh, I think Smitty's going to take this division with uh, Colton and Young, or I'm sorry, Colton and Nike fighting for a potential second place spot. I'm just not really sure that either one of them are going to be able to defeat Smitty, but we'll see. He's got a long schedule. His schedule doesn't truly benefit him playing out the season. Going over to the Big 12, we have an undefeated Swag at 4-0. We have Qua at 4-0 with Texas. Not a whole lot of shock there. And then, of course, we've got Austin 1-3. Kind of a struggle between both leagues with that Colorado team. One of the things that it's funny when you see Colorado, the first thing you think is, man, they've got these pieces that you can make a run with, but that team has a ton of holes. So it'll be interesting to see what Austin does in both situations with Colorado, really in the off season. OSU, which is Earl at 2-2, and then a Kansas Jayhawk at 0-5. Again, similar situation as far as the scheduling piece. The man hasn't had a home game. He hasn't had a home game just yet. Again, we don't take shots at our admin team. I'm saying that. We don't take shots. So, Smitty, all the shots that you like to take, calm that down, cuz. We don't take shots because, again, this is a learning curve for myself and Qua and for our admin team, for our board of directors. Like, we are still in this learning space with this game, similar to you guys. But 0-5, then of course we have a 3-2 with those Raiders with I believe it's Isaiah. I'm gonna give Qua this one. Yeah, I know that Swag's playing well, but I'm actually going to lean with Qua. I think Qua's going to take Texas over the hump and ultimately take the conference. Big Ten, we have a 3-1 with Bloodshed dominating the field. Not a norm for Bloodshed. A 4-2 for Rome. 2-3 for Ben playing with those Horned Frogs, and then of course Top took a tough loss against Notre Dame on the last advance to put him at 2-3 versus a 3-2 position, and then of course everyone that follows suit after. I'm actually going to lean with Bloodshed, and it's going to be based on his schedule. Now, again, going between both leagues, I'm not going to do the full detail breakdown that we would normally do, but going between both leagues, I do think I'm going with I'm going to go with Bloodshed because I think his schedule fits him as far as the long term. Rome's got some tough games to finish out the season. He doesn't really get the benefit of conference as well, which I do think is going to benefit Bloodshed finishing the season out. Pac-12. What? I mean, wow, I thought Leaf been talking real heavy. I thought he was undefeated. That's crazy. Sitting at 3-1. One of the weaker conferences, in my opinion. But when I say weaker conferences, I don't necessarily mean really the same thing in LOC. Weaker, I'm not necessarily saying user as much as it is teams. Because really, in this conference, as far as team selection, you have Oregon and LSU, and then you just have, I mean, fucking Huskies. Like, who's taking them outside of Olympic? Vanderbilt does have a nice QB. Obviously, there's been some change with Rutgers. That team will change going into the next season, most likely with Preacher taking over Rutgers. LSU, Noah sitting at 2-1. Not having a bad season to start. It's looking really good for Leaf to finish out and take the Pac-12. And then SEC, for the SEC, which is myself, Legend. We have Tillman with Ole Miss. We have J. Rose with Florida. And we have Hendricks with those Voluntoles. And 0-4 Alabama is crazy. I mean, that's just a wild situation. User came in, wasn't able to transition to NCAA pretty well. Understandable. Not everybody's skill is going to be able to transfer between each game, each system. He said the rule breaker is a crazy way to describe him. My bad, kinfolk. Uh, I'm hoping to take the division. I'm sitting at 4-0 right now. Obviously, I love my situation with A&M versus Wisconsin. That has been a conversation that I have seen with a ton of users throughout the chat as we have started league play. The conversation has been surrounded by, man, like the team I chose may have not been the best option for me, or they may have not been the best to fit my style of play. A lot of different things have been said as far as league play. I'm hoping to take this SEC. My schedule is about to get a little bit difficult to finish out because again, I haven't played Georgia. I haven't played. Really, the only one I haven't really played is Legend with those Bulldogs. But I'm hoping to take the division. That's my goal right here, sitting 4-0 with A&M. The next to consider is going to be looking at the Heisman race for both chats. I'm just trying to make sure because somebody just started making real noise outside, and I'm hoping that that isn't taking over the sound of my mic. And if it is, obviously, you guys just let me know. But looking at the Heisman race so far, we have for South Carolina in KOC. Looks like top with South Carolina has a receiver leading the race right now. In his last game, he had 5 catches for 313 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns in that game. Qua has an outside linebacker that is obviously just going crazy up to this point. We do have Clemson, the running back for Clemson. No shock there whatsoever. Colton absolutely wants to run the ball. Myself with A&M, I had 16 carries, 320 rushing yards in my last game against Colorado. And then Liberty, a team with no user has a Heisman, which you're going to see very similar when we switch over and look at LOC because there has been change. There has been change in that Heisman race. You know, it's funny because I'm nowhere close to the Heisman race over in LOC. um, I, my schedule, my team, there's a lot of things going on that have to be corrected. Unfortunately for myself, with LOC up to this point. But looking over at the Heisman race in LOC, you know, Fuzz was in. He was in the Heisman race, and that changed completely. Because now we have Donovan Edwards leading with Michigan, Trey Moore, the left end for Texas. You know, Texas not having the absolute best season to start so far, but they have a left end on the D line that's playing well. Judkins, no shock there. I mean, hell, they had to nerf him on the game to tell you how good the player is on the game. But he's obviously in that race with a last game. Didn't really put up a lot of crazy stats against Georgia, or against Georgia, but they got the win. And then again, no name player that's balling. Quarterback Haynes Keen for Georgia Tech, 367 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 45 rushing yards, was sacked 5 times in that game. And then, of course, we have Liv. No shock here because I'm pretty sure Liv is leading in the most passing yards in league play up to this point. Could be wrong, but he's got Nico. Not even about to attempt to say Buddy's last name. All I can tell you is that Liv has been absolutely efficient with those voluntold on offense. Yep, voluntold because you ain't volunteered for shit since I've seen you in the chat. Looking at the top 25. Now, the top 25 rankings they may look a little off, and again, everyone understand when it comes to the ranking piece. I believe we are in weeks 4 and 5 between both leagues. We're pretty close. We're about maybe a week off as far as advances. So keep in mind, you're going to see teams in there like this, for example. You're going to see teams like NC State starting these next few advances because we want to do our best to keep the computer out of the playoffs. we'll start giving forced losses to these teams. Same thing with West Virginia. Same thing with Oklahoma State. There's teams sitting up here that we're going to see what we can do to make sure that they at least don't make that playoff picture. Now, my understanding is that the playoffs on the game is now 12, or in NCAA is now 12. It's funny. I don't know how they skipped from 8 because they said 8 and then they moved over to 12. So y'all gonna have to. If I'm wrong, please just let me know. Don't quote me on that. But if it's going to be a top 12 and the way the game is supposed to work, as far as LOC, your top 12 users to be in the playoffs today, if the game is playing how it should, it would be Ohio State, Oregon, Alabama, Michigan, Tennessee, Notre Dame with Gideon, Penn State with Hendricks, Miami, Texas, Florida State, Florida, and LSU. That leaves out some users that is actually kind of interesting to me because that has Young at 23. That's where the game has him ranked. Now, obviously, he's 3-2, so that makes a lot of sense there. But there are some people up here that 3-2, and it's like, who have you played, and most importantly, who have you lost to? That's the media standpoint. As far as coaches, looks a little bit different. They just have it switched. I believe as far as 2 or 3 teams, Michigan and Alabama switch on the top 25 rankings as far as LOC is concerned. Now, again, and as I stated, when we look at the rankings between each league, understand something that just in case you missed it, because I can already feel the energy. Like, man, I don't want to see the rankings and all that bullshit in the other league. Well, hey, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Wow, that's crazy. Like, they really just showing information that I really don't care for y'all to see right now. But conference standings. Oh, my bad. I meant to go to the top 25. For the top 25 for KOC, you have Texas at number 1. You have Oklahoma at 2. Myself at 3. Tillman sitting at 4. I believe that's Noah at 5. And Georgia, I mean, he's 2-1. The Legends 2-1, sitting right there with Georgia. And then again, it's going to be the same situation where we're going to do our best to knock down these teams that do not have a user to make sure that we do not have a non-user in the situation of a playoff opportunity to get into the playoffs. So looking at the top 25 for KOC, if everything stopped today, not counting these CPU teams that are just kind of sitting in the fold, you're going to have Qua at number 1 right now with the Longhorns, which he should be. And that's the beauty. That is the beauty. That's the beauty of what I love about college. He's number 1 on this game, but he should be. He's got the Longhorns. He should be playing with the level of success. He should be having the success it's showing right now. Swag is at 4-0. Myself at 4-0. We have Tillman at Ole Miss with 3-2. 5 is going to be LSU. 6 Georgia. I'm actually going to go 7 Ohio State. 8, we're going to go Florida State for Nike. Leaf is really going to be stuck off in there. And then, of course, we're going to have Bloodshed. There's been a request for me to talk about recruiting. I didn't put that on the sheet just yet because I really want that to be a combined show with myself, Legend, and a few other people that are knowledgeable on the recruiting side. But maybe we'll get to it as we get through here. And talk about these commits and who's doing well. Really, I just don't want to show my screen. That's really the only reason I don't want to talk about recruiting is because I don't really want you to see what I have going on like that. That's really how I feel. But as far as the top 25s, it looks like for the most part, everyone that is a user would potentially make it outside of Michigan State. So that is going to be the top 25 up to this point. I am going to take a breath. I'm going to take a breath. I'll be right back. All right, so we are going to be finishing this show looking at the stats of each league. Now, again, I know there's a lot of interest to look at the recruiting piece. Um, I'm not comfortable doing that just yet, mainly because I'm not really sure how much this is going to show up to this point. That may have to be a show where we do live on Legends screen as far as recruiting is concerned. Uh, but we are going to look at the stats really quick as far as league play. We're going to look at passing stats. We're going to look at rushing, receiving, the defensive stats. We're going to look as far as teams, and then we'll finish the show for both. So starting over in LOC, you know, this is a different game, and man, I can't imagine what it would be like trying to put all these stats on a damn Excel sheet right now. They really need to get us a companion app. Like, they really need to get us an app that we can use as far as league play. But looking at the quarterback play in LLC, we'll just start at the top. And yeah. I was actually way off. I thought I had a totally different user up here as far as a number one when it came to stats. But we do have our Longhorns user with Quinn Ewers with almost 2,500 yards up to this point. So definitely a decent start for him as far as the passing game. No shock here that Qua's up there with the Washington Huskies. I believe they're Washington Huskies, right? The Washington Huskies. No shock that he has those numbers. He's got receivers everywhere, speed everywhere. I mean, it's really no shock from that standpoint. We do have Oklahoma, which I do believe is Texas Star. I believe that's Texas Star. Third with almost 2,000 up to this point. And then, of course, Roach doing what Roach does and passes the ball well. As far as interceptions, as far as completion percentage, trying to look at it from just a user perspective only, I'm not gonna lie to you. That was pretty much it's a little bit of a challenge on the game that as far as visual, it's a little bit more challenging as far as figuring out who's doing what. But I'm pretty sure Liv is the number one user as far as LOC is concerned with passing completion percentage at 75%. So definitely great season for Liv to start so far. As far as rushing leaders, the most rushing yards was no shock at all. It's Fuzz. I mean, if you don't know what Fuzz's game plan is by now, I don't know. You must be living under a rock because this is what Fuzz likes to do, and that is run the rock. He wants to run the rock all day. Obviously, no one else comes close. Nobody. No. I mean, it's actually kind of shocking to me. I was like, where's the rest of the league? And then you got Hendricks. I'm not. I think that's Twiz. I think at 577. But then you got Hendricks here with almost 600 yards with Penn State with Nicholas Singleton, Chris Johnson Jr. with the University of Miami. Definitely playing well. Man, this dude's quiet. Whoever is playing with Miami, he is quiet and he's quiet playing well. Uh, I think I think that's Bird. I really believe that's Bird sitting over there 5-0 with Miami and having a good season, running the ball up to this point. Most touchdowns as far as league play, no shock at all that it's Donovan Edwards, obviously leading the Heisman race. Receiving yards. Not 1,000-yard receiver just yet, because if I'm telling you right now, if somebody's got 1,000-yard receiver up to this point and we plan on 5-minute quarters, like, nah, something's gonna have to be changed. But no 1,000-yard receiver just yet. But Texas does have the number one receiver in Isaiah Bond at 788 up to this point with 6 TDs. Giles Jackson, I mean, hell, he lit me up in the last game I played Qua with over 700 yards and 9 TDs in that game. And then Jelani Watkins, I believe it's Tra or Craw. Gideon's going to have to clarify the name for me with LSU with above the 600-yard mark. And then, of course, the most touchdowns up to this point. It's going to be Giles Jackson as far as users is concerned. I'm going to go over to the defensive stats really quick, team stats, and then switch back over to the KOC to look at the same, look at their stats as well. As far as total offense up to this point, Texas got the offense. I mean, I think I don't remember if he was 2-3. Yeah, he's 2-3 up to this point. He's still ranked 9 somehow. There's the ranking system on the game is very questionable to me. I don't know if y'all feel that way, but it's very questionable to me. How is he 2-3 and he's still ranked in the top 10, regardless of who you played? You're in the top 10. Like something doesn't add up. Washington Huskies, again, obviously no shock there as well as I believe Texas Star with Oklahoma. The defensive side of the ball, the best defensive user in the league. Let's see here. As far as LOC, and I believe it's USC. He's 3-1. He's only given up a total of. He's not even given 1,000 yards up this season. So definitely playing well. I think that's East Side. I don't know, but I'm guessing that's East Side with USC with a great season up to this point. As far as the turnover rate or turnover difference, obviously Liv is looking great as far as the turnover difference. And oh wow, oh wow, oh my gosh, Frizzle! uh, Frizzle's obviously sitting at the top right now as far as turnovers. That's something he can definitely clear up. Looks like the biggest piece is just giving the ball away for Frizzle with 29 interceptions through 5-6 games. That's heavy. That is heavy. 29 picks. Obviously, I think he can clean that up over time. That is the stats as far as LOC. Going over to KOC, and again, I know there's a lot of interest as far as recruiting. There's a ton to break down with recruiting. One, did you choose a motivator? Did you choose straight recruitment? Did you? The third one was technical or tactical. As far as the experience you wanted as a head coach. There's a ton to break down from the recruiting side. And again, I got fear. I don't want to open up my screen and have exposure theater because that's crazy. But we will get to that at some point. Looking at the stats over in LOC, I'm sorry, in KOC up to this point, as far as the best passer in the league so far. Let's get to that national. There we go. Looks like if you're playing with Tennessee, you're going to be passing the ball well because Hendricks is leading the league in passing yards by a decent margin. Obviously, Top wants to. He's really somebody that wants to run, but I think this game is forcing him to pass with those Gamecocks. He's in the top as far as passing yards, but a ton of picks sitting at the top with 29. Old Miss, Tillman at 1,600 with 20 TDs and 5 picks up to this point, and Miller Moss with USC. I don't think there's a user that's playing with this team over in TH, but I could be wrong. There's a lot of information that we're going through here. But those are going to be your top as far as passing. As far as the rushing game is concerned, look at Nike doing something that is not common, and that's running the ball, leading the league in rushing with Jalen Lucas with right below the 600-yard mark. Myself sitting at second with my running back, Ruben Owens, Jeremiah Love for Notre Dame, and then there's really no one else that's close. As far as the receiving, no shock at all. Just by seeing the 29 picks, it lets me know that Top's passing the ball a lot with Nick Harbor right at that 900-yard mark. Zachariah Branch for USC, and then Hendricks with a top receiver with right at 586. So a little bit of a split here. Again, what I'm really looking forward to now, again, guys, this is I'm doing a show combined of both. We'll have a very different setup later on. Um, as as you may all know, I went on a trip. I went on a trip mid August or beginning of August. Came back, went straight to work. We went straight to work with NCAA. Man, time's been full, but we are going to get this thing rolling and try to be as active as far as shows and as far as feedback to you guys as possible. Between myself, Legend, we in Austin, we're definitely trying to figure out the best way to make sure that we are punching out as much possible information to the league as possible. Um, Going over to the teams, or coach, just team stats as a whole for uh, for KOC. Let's see if we can get to that national here. The number one offense is Hendricks, ranked at 21 with almost 2,500 yards up to this point. Top sitting at second. I'm going to go with Tillman as third, even though the game has Liberty up there, which is crazy because, like, who gives a fuck about Liberty? And then, of course, we have Nike with Florida State and Rome just right behind them, I would say, to complete a user top five. As far as the defensive side of the ball, Michigan State, no surprise there with Lolo playing with those Spartans. I think there's a personal connection for Lolo when it comes to those Spartans. He's obviously somebody that's from the area of Michigan. But only giving up not even more than 700 yards. At the same time, he's only played about, looks like 3 games, so we'll see. As far as stats, the next closest user is going to be Legend with those Bully Bulldogs. As far as turnover rate, no shock at all that Colton is sitting at 16. He's not a person that's going to give the ball up. That's just not what he does. That's just not his. It's not his. That's not how he plays the game. That is never how he's played the game. He's always kind of been consistent in the space of not just giving the ball up in gameplay. So no shock that he's sitting at the top with Qua, Nike, Swag, Bloodshed, and myself at the top. And then on the opposite, DTZ. You know, it's funny. DTZ had a lot to say about getting the U, and he is not. He is not treating Miami with the respect they deserve. As far as interceptions, looks like we're matching in numbers between both leagues when it comes to stats. Interceptions 29 for top with South Carolina with those Gamecocks at 2 and 3, and then we have Frizzle over in LOC with, I believe, 29 as well. I'm not really sure whose is worse because I believe both have played a total of 5 games. You know, the benefit of that bye week does kind of change things. I think when you look at the Heisman race, when you look at stats, because obviously all those stats combined don't connect fully until the end of a season. But hey, guys, that is going to be the show up to this point. Again, trying to build into something where we can really kind of split these down into 2, hoping to get the commissioners from or get some guys from the admin side from both leagues. We are going to do a show around recruiting. The mistake that I made this morning is I didn't go and just really check to see, like, how much information do I really want to show. What I can tell you is if you are not recruiting, if you're not taking the time to do those things on the game, which obviously you can see my coins and see how they have not been used as of late. I have been a full-time employee at MHS. Once that slows down, that will obviously change for myself. But you want to absolutely make sure that you're recruiting. You want to absolutely make sure that you are not skipping over that part. Understand how the commitment process works. And also be realistic about your situation. I haven't won a game in Wisconsin. I know what players I am and am not going to waste time on because they're looking at my team and going, man, y'all motherfuckers suck. Why would I go play there? Just straight up. you got to be realistic about your situation. There's going to be a lot to discuss around the recruitment piece. I actually think before I do a show about recruitment, I am going to make sure I connect with a few of the users in the league that seem to be doing well. But other than that, man, I got to get back to work, get back to this daily grind over here. I hope you boys enjoy the rest of your day. I am looking forward to seeing the top ten list for both LOC and KOC. And last and not least, guys, I want y'all to know myself, and Legend have been trying to do something like this for a very long time. And in the combining of leagues, or combining of leagues into one channel if possible, to just have that much more of an impact as far as league play. We actually had this conversation even back to when, Good Times and all these other leagues, HK, we had a really broad idea, much more broader than what it is now. But ultimately, man, we are excited. We appreciate the activity. Man, I hope you guys appreciate the work that between our board of directors, between ourselves, Austin, that we have been trying to do and trying to build with NCAA. But other than that, man, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'll get back to you guys hopefully soon, and we will see y'all at the next advance. Peace.